say a quick prayer real quick if you bow your heads. Father God, we just thank you for this day. We, especially this warm day in December, we take it, Lord. We thank you, and we ask that you keep the winds down and safety throughout the night. And Lord, just help us. We make decisions here that we're doing it your will, Lord. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh boy, it's a little medias here.
Roll call, please.
Palmer,
Here.
Berry,
Here.
Bounds,
Here.
Munson,
Here.
Smock,
Here.
Wagner, Gates.
Here. Okay, so public hearing for 2021 tax levy.
Okay, in your packet, I included a copy of the levy that we discussed last month. There have been no changes since that time. The levy projects the same tax rate as last year's levy. That was $4.84. However, the levy does ask for a significant increase in funds, and that was published in the notice. The total property taxes extended in FY21 were $8.3 million, and the total property tax extended for FY22 would increase to $9.3 million. Our ability to raise those additional funds with the same tax rate is due to an increase in our local EAV that we saw rise from $174 million last year to over $192 million this year. So that additional assessed valuation allows us to generate significantly more dollars at the same tax rate. And this rate also assumes the bond issue that we have later on the agenda that would be able to pay for those items without any additional tax increases in our bond money.
Questions or discussion from the board? Okay. Any public comment? If you have public comment, please keep it to 5 minutes.
I'll be asking you to approve this levy later in the regular meeting this evening.
No other discussion? Motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Second. Roll call.
Palmer,
Yes.
Berry,
Yes.
Bounds,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner, Gates.
Yes.
That ends the public hearing for the 2021 tax levy. Roll call for regular.
Roll call again, is that what you said?
Yes.
Palmer,
Here.
Berry,
Here.
Bounds,
Here.
Munson,
Here.
Smock,
Here.
Wagner, Gates.
Here. Okay. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay. Move to public comment. Anyone like to make any comments this time? Please keep it to 5 minutes. Okay. Any board comments?
Attended the junior high Christmas program last night for the chorus and band, and it was awesome time. They both sounded great. The 7th grade, I know they kind of had a rough time last year. They sounded awesome, even considering what they've been up against. The chorus, they had two sections. Each section did their own song, and then they came together to sing one that they had, or two that they had never practiced together, and they sounded great. So kudos to Mr. Wan and Mrs. Call. They did a great job. So just, at least we were able to get one in. Or, well, high school got theirs in too. So.
Any other board comments?
That was amazing too. That was an amazing day.
What's that?
The concert of high school last Sunday. And I talked to Mr. Wan yesterday, and I've never sat in the audience when they do the Carol of the Bells. And I was, okay, there's the sopranos, there's the altos, then the tenors are behind, and then bass on this side, and it was goosebumps. It was amazing.
Changes the sound.
Extremely talented people.
It changes the sound.
Yes, I've never sat in there when they did it that way before. That was amazing.
I would like to make an announcement. In November of 2019, some of you might remember, we had 13 teachers that enrolled in National Board Certification cohort. And of course, as you know, less than 6 months later, we were in the midst of a shutdown and all of the COVID issues that we've been dealing with since. And from that group, we've actually had our first 4 completers right now, and they were issued their National Board Certification this week. And so I think that's pretty special. And I'd like to recognize those 4 teachers. All 4 of these teachers happen to be from Apollo Elementary, and that's Pete Nelson, PE teacher at Apollo Elementary, Kathy Olson, Kristen Reek, our chorus teacher, and Stacy Sharp. So I really want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of that. In the past, we've had other National Board Certified teachers within the district, Britt Higgins and Kay Huckey and Andrea Hess. Andrea has maintained hers. Now she's in her second 10-year cycle. And although there have been some changes to the program, these cycles now go in 5-year renewal periods. This is a great accomplishment for those teachers, and I hope some of those other members of that cohort are able to complete in the near future.
And I will comment, I failed spectacularly to get my summary report in work, so I will do that soon. Send it.
Make mine to go to Shannon with the time stamps and everything. Did you guys talk about how you were going to do that?
She sent Jason and I examples.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I absolutely did. I
Did you guys talk?
totally coached off of what Julie sent me.
And then I didn't.
It's hard.
Thanks for giving me a little push out front. I appreciate it.
All right, any other board comments? All right, correspondence, there's a stack of them going around. I don't know if everybody got them or not.
Yeah.
And if you weren't here earlier when Don brought it up, Angie ate all the cookies and candy that came with it. Want that on TV. All right, approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody would like to have separated for discussion and voting? Okay, if not, I have accept a motion to approve.
I move we approve the consent
Second.
Roll call, please.
Palmer,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Motion approves. Moving on to number 7, committee reports. You should have received your oh, that's right. And I did want to mention, because there were some airfares on there, and had been brought up, and afterwards I got to thinking about it. I felt like we had talked as much as we should have on that. So I did reach out to Mr. Petrie, and those, it's not the norm, but there are funds, and I don't know if you want to explain that a little bit, that can't be used any other way, or.
We've got a lot of additional funds designated for professional development, especially related to the influx of federal dollars that we've received over the last couple of years. And I don't know if Mr. Bush wants to say anything about those two conferences. I know one of them is the Ron Clark Academy, and the other one is, yeah, so if you want to speak.
Mrs. Wilbur, Mrs. Iwasek, Mrs. Ford, Mrs. Olson and I had just purchased our airline tickets and our Ron Clark Academy. Ron Clark Academy is like the end-all be-all, the greatest, latest, greatest. Like if you are a national Disney Teacher of the Year, you go teach at Ron Clark Academy. It's a private-ish school, and it's funded by Coca-Cola. It's in Atlanta. They took an old warehouse and they converted it to a school, and they do all the newest, latest, greatest, best practice pieces of it. And so what they do is they offer to open it up to teachers, administrators to come in and observe for a couple of days and be able to interact with the students and the teachers and administrators. And Ron Clark is a national.
Is that the Lean on Me guy?
Nope.
Is it for him or
No,
something?
movie. No, that's not him.
It's a different movie. That was Joe Clark.
But, so,
Joe!
yeah, so we had just purchased it and then thinking the scope of things was gonna go away, and it didn't, so we had to cancel all that. And so then it opened back up, and so Mr. Preacher allowed us to head out there. And then Mrs. Gant and Mrs. Nimrick are heading to Get Your Teach On. It's a big national teaching piece out, and they have it in different locations throughout the different years, whatever it is. This one happens to be in Las Vegas, and they would purchase certain pieces of it and us to go with it. So we're excited that we have this opportunity to be able to go to these pieces that aren't just the local ones here, be able to see what national is going on. Stacy and I went to a national principal one with us up in Chicago, and it just gives you a different perspective of what else is going on besides just what's here in the Midwest kind of thing. So it's nice that we're able to get out and allow our teachers to go to these things when and if they would like to be able to go to them. In the past, we haven't been able to. So I really appreciate.
Really hard to bring stuff back from Vegas.
Well, that's what I was questioning.
I trust
Giving
they
them
will.
money and doing it. It's not a, and I'd ask Mr. Petrie, because most of my time on the board has been under COVID, so we haven't had a lot of this available. So I didn't know if, it didn't seem like, I think Julie said something that wasn't norm to fly, and I don't think that we want to set that precedent as being the norm to fly. But in this case, we have those dollars, so we're use them wisely, and so hopefully we get a lot of knowledge and bring it back to our kids. So.
Yeah, we're going in March to the Ron Clark Academy. They get their teach on it February, I believe it is. But if you want to come and talk about what they learned, what they got out of it, they'd be more than happy to. We can do that for you too. But yeah, you're right. This is the first time that since I've been in Mercer County that we've been able to go nationally rather than just regionally. So,
The Ron Clark Academy, just to plug that, is kind of like a bucket list of teachers, like something you'll see. Their teachers actually do national tours at times where their teachers will go and give like hour sessions, and they are all like the best public speakers you will find, and they are phenomenal.
if you have a chance, look it up. Ron Clark Academy.
I'm super jealous.
Okay. Anything else on Finance Committee? Anything on Building and Grounds? Transportation?
You got some stuff you covered. Is that for later?
Some action item?
Yeah.
That'll be an action item. Okay. All right, moving to action item 8.1, adopt resolution for 2021 tax levy. And that's the levy that we just discussed.
Yes.
Correct, so
Yeah, that's actually the first page in that packet that was included with the levy. That's what that piece of paper that shows the amounts in each fund.
That shows the total levy of 8.7.
Because the county clerk will levy the appropriate bond amount.
Oh, and that
And we
brings us to the
estimate,
9.
yeah,
Okay. So I move to approve the 2022, correct?
21.
No, 2021 tax levy of $8,705,603.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Smough,
Yes.
Wagner, Yates,
Yes.
Ballmer.
Yes.
Okay, 8.2, approval of 2021 wellness policy.
We had intended to adopt this last month, because at that time, when we sent the packets out, we didn't think there were any changes to the policy from the prior year. That Monday, prior to the board meeting, we did receive some changes, required changes from ISB related to food loss and sharing tables. You should find that, Angie's highlighted that section in your document for you.
Page 12.
And those are the only changes within the wellness plan.
Any further discussion?
Move to approve the 2021 wellness policy as presented with amendments.
Please, all in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 8.3, approved bus lease.
Does any member of the transportation committee want to talk about that, or I will?
Bus lease?
Yeah.
Go ahead. We all
All right.
do.
We had some of this information for our meeting last month, but we didn't feel like we'd had enough time to properly review that, to take action on that. The committee did meet a little over a week ago to go over the numbers on that, and we would recommend that we lease 12 buses from Thomas, Midwest Bus Services. Their bid came in substantially lower than the competitor, Midwest Transit. We got very comparable specs on both 1-year and 2-year diesel buses. But I think the committee was leaning towards recommending actually a 3rd year with Midwest Bus for the Thomas buses. All 3 years would be under their warranty for substantial annual savings. When we look at what that is on the 3-year versus the 2-year lease, and the number of dollars that we save. And I got that down there at the bottom. You see the annual savings, and that 3-year lease is over $40,000. So over the course of the 3 years, we save over $122,000 on those 12 buses.
No, I'm gonna say this, I forgot to say it the other day. The reason we went to the 2-year one was the 3rd year was starting to get into a little bit of money.
It's possible that we get into some additional wear issues based on our mileage. We might start to hit tires and brakes, and that's not going to be covered by warranty. Within 2 years, we don't have to worry about that. But I think based on that additional savings on the lease, that we can afford to do some tires and brakes.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up the other day, because I remember that's what it was, the 2 years. It was a mess.
Any further discussion? Take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Munson,
Yes.
Smough,
Yes.
Wagner, Yates,
Yes.
Ballmer,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds.
Yes. 8.4, adopt press policy quarterly updates. Any discussion?
Because we did the policy committee, and then we all remember for policy.
Policy.
These are the ones though that, these are the press words. These are the
Press
ones that were
policies.
like, we got it, was it 2 meetings ago or last meeting, last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve the press policies quarterly update.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds,
No.
Munson.
Yes.
Item 8.5, school improvement plans, NCIS, NCJ.
This is an annual update and review on the school improvement plans for both the intermediate school and the junior high, related to the underperformance of certain subgroups within their buildings. And it explains how they're trying to address some of those issues. And I don't know if either one of you wanted to say anything about those, but the changes for this year, due to COVID last year, are very minor within the two documents.
Just due to change of everything, I mean, last time it was approved was actually before the COVID year, and then we didn't actually get to go all the way finished because we were done. We got shut down to where everybody's at home, and then we had the next year to where it wasn't required, and schools, some were not in session, were half years, so this is the next year they're requiring that again. So we're trying to implement things that we actually talked about and planned 2 years ago in our current year. So there's not major changes, tweaks, and updates in that plan. Where next year, hopefully, things get even more to normal, and then that next plan will have bigger changes.
And most of these changes relate to our special education subgroups, and we've talked quite a bit about the changes that we're making within that program, whether that might be a self-contained classroom at the junior high level, or some additional assistance.
Any further discussion? And a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Roll call, please.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Item 8.6, consideration and action on the resolution setting forth and describing the details of claims heretofore authorized and allowed for proper school purchases. It's the 9.95 bonds, 9,950,000 bonds for the purpose of paying claims. You want to explain that?
Sure.
I'm fumbling around with that.
These next two issues, and first let me remind you that those resolutions are written by bond attorneys. So don't feel intimidated by the language. Both of these next two motions deal with our special meeting that we had last week, related to the issue of $9.5 million in debt certificates. Those are funds that the district received yesterday. Those funds are designated for the repair for additional construction of our buildings. And we know from our facility study that was completed back in 2020, 2021, and 2020, that we have approximately $14.1 million worth of health, life, safety work to do. All that work could be funded with health, life, safety bonds, but that process takes considerably longer to get those amendments approved by the regional office, the state board, for the architects to do the work that are involved in that. And we wanted to be able to capture the current interest rates that are significantly lower than we could expect a year from now or even 2 years from now. The issuing of debt certificates and the follow-up issue of funding bonds in order to pay for those allows us to complete that process within 2 to 3 months and capture the current all-time low interest rates that we have right now. Just to give you an idea, when we talk about that $14 to $15 million worth of bond issue, a single percentage point difference in the interest rate is north of $1.5 million over the life of that issue. So we're not talking just a small savings here, but a very large savings by moving forward with the issue to capture the low rate. The process started last week with our special meeting, the debt certificate issue. It continues tonight with resolutions related to funding bonds and working cash bonds. It will continue at our January meeting with our BINA hearing, and BINA stands for Bond Information and Notification Act. Kind of like we had a levy hearing tonight or a budget hearing in the past. It's just one more opportunity to notify the public about what we're doing. And then following that BINA hearing, by at least 7 days, that's what the law says, then we can actually sell the bonds to pay for the debt certificates that we issue. And Mike, I know when we talked about this before, you kind of likened that to a construction loan when you were building a house. You get a construction loan to build the house, and then you take out the real mortgage to pay for the house. And that, in some sense, is what we're doing with this kind of issue. We will likely just wait until our regular February meeting to actually make that bond issue. But a lot of that will depend on the timing, the bond buyers, and the ability of the bond attorneys to put that information together.
Okay, any questions? Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Ballmer,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner. Yes.
Okay, passes. 8.7, that's the 9 million working cash.
Yes. 9 million working cash is simply the authority to issue up to that amount. We have discussed the fact that we do not intend to issue the full 9 million through this process, because we're looking at an amount closer to that 15 million that would cover all of our health, life, safety items or any potential new construction. However, that by authorizing that full amount, we can take advantage of that for the next 3 years. And again, that gives us the ability to capture interest rates much quicker than starting that process over. So I would recommend that we authorize that resolution as presented with the ability to issue up to $9 million in working cash bonds. Again, on that timeline I described previously, after the BINA in January and at the time when we actually have that meeting, whether it's a special meeting or the regular February. Again, all of these dollar figures have been baked into that tax levy that you approved. Our tax rate will stay the same as it did for the year.
Any further discussion? Entertain call, please.
Palmer,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Bounds,
Yes.
Munson, Smough,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates.
Yes. Passes. Moving to 9.1 FOIA request. You didn't have any? Okay. 2020-21 21st Century Grant Evaluation Report.
You have that reported in your packet. The 21st Century Grant has been focused at Mercer County High School, and I believe next year is our last year of that grant. We have two
I think
more.
we have 2 years after this.
2 years. And I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about how that transition has gone with Lindsay moving into the program this year and some of the things that we're doing with that.
Sure, this is Lindsay's second full year, I think. Yeah, she kind of came in right when the pandemic started, I think. But Lindsay Dunn has done a fantastic job. It does before and after school programming, so it does some summer programming. If there's a group or an activity the kids want to do that, you know, isn't a sport, isn't a club we've already got, all they gotta do is go find her, and if we can get an adult that's interested and willing to be around, they'll do it. Mr. Derrick spends 2.5 hours or 2 hours every Thursday with tabletop role playing. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, but there are other games they play too. I understand none of it. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of noise coming out of that room on Thursday afternoons. They think it's fantastic. But, I mean, they do a cooking club, they've done community service projects, they've gone up to the cities for college fairs and career fairs and stuff like that. It's really let us do lots of things. It provides our tutoring before and after school. I'd be shocked to hear not many high school kids necessarily take advantage of that, but it's there. On a good year, we're able to help provide some transportation. That's not been a thing right now, just with the way transportation is, but yeah, they've done family paint nights, they do community events. Yeah, she has done a fantastic job. And she's around and will help do whatever it is else we need. She served lunch for us, she's run lunch computers.
And I think they were at Youngstown today.
Yeah, I think they delivered stuff out there today.
Is that who does the crochet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's on that thing today.
Huh? Yep, Starbucks that Janelle runs in the mornings comes out of that program. So, I mean, it's all kinds of stuff.
Pretty wide
Yeah,
array.
it's
It reaches a lot of kids.
it's going to be a hit when we lose that. It's a 5-year grant. You can reapply one time, so you get it for max of 10 years. So when we're out, that's it.
So we've had it for 10 years when we're up.
Yeah. Unless the laws change again and something happens, but it's been a great deal. The kids have really liked it. Lindsay's done a great job.
Any further discussion? 9.3 Mercer County Schools Excellence in Education Foundation.
That was on me. I was very excited when Dr. Johnson invited me to join the foundation board recently. So I said I would come in and give you an update on things that are going to be happening next year. I know he put in the board packet at the very end of the information items section, the letter from the Zip Lake Foundation. They'll be doing a matching grant up to $20,000, $10,000 for the endowment, and then another $10,000 possible for current use funds. And so every dollar we raise, the Zip Lake will match it, and we have the course of the calendar year, almost 11 months to try and reach our goal. And so wanted to put that out there for the public to notice. We're updating Facebook. Angie has been kind enough to work on a Facebook or a website page on the district website for us, and that's getting started. So we're also going to be working on PayPal, Venmo to make donations, so it doesn't have to. Right now, the way it's been operating is mail and then mail back a check, and so that's, you know, very few people do that very much anymore. And if they do get a mailing, they forget, or you know, it gets put in the pile with other things to do and it doesn't get done. So we're going to try and have an ability to pay electronically quickly, hopefully through the Facebook page. But if I would like to invite all of us to make a contribution, it's $10 to the foundation in the course of next year. It has to be after January 1st for it to count towards the grant. And so and you should have the brochure at your space, and you can always talk to and email Vic Johnson too if you have any questions.
When did you say that needed to be done by for the matching?
Well, it starts January 1st and it runs to December 1st of 2022.
Oh, so it's just anytime next year?
Yeah, anytime next year up to December 1st.
And includes your plate taxes at 20,000?
Yeah, there's 10,000 for the endowment, and then another 10,000 we could raise for current use. Current use funds is what goes to pay for the teacher grants, and then any other projects we may do look to do in the future.
The letter I included in the board packet explains the matching grant that they did.
Does anyone have any questions?
Read up
But I thank you, Angie, for working on that. But yeah, the board on the back is not even remotely accurate anymore.
Yeah.
This is one of the original brochures, but Vic Johnson's contact information is the same, so feel free to utilize him in any way you need to. Oh, and yes, Stacy Worth is also, she's the secretary of the foundation. She's trying to put together mailing lists and email lists for anyone who's graduated from Westmore or Aledo or Mercer County. And so I will check with her and see if any of you guys are in a class that she doesn't have done yet. And we're trying to contact everyone in our graduating classes to make sure we have a contact we can send mailings out or electronic notices to everyone who's graduated in who knows how long. So.
Great. Any further discussion or any questions? 9.4, live stream meeting. So I think Julie brought up a few months ago about live streaming, and so now we're fortunate enough we live stream our regular meetings, and we didn't talk in detail on that when we discussed before, and so there was a question brought up about our committee meetings not being streamed, and so I thought we'd bring that up for discussion and see what people's opinion are on that. So, what people's thoughts are.
Well,
Is there a way to put in a request if somebody wants to stream it?
Well, and I know I talked to Mr. Petrie, and so for one, it has to be planned because we're streaming athletic events and stuff. So, but that'd be the one thing, and that's why we weren't able to stream this week's meetings, and I figured we'd discuss it. So.
People are probably interested in going through that stuff for a while.
One of the options that we might be able to do, because the class that's been doing these and Trent and Mr. Ruggles that have been kind of in charge of that, their calendar might be full. One of the options we could do is that we could simply record the meetings. If most of our views are coming after the meeting and not live, I could record, just like we did the Zoom meetings when we were in the lockdowns kinds of situation with COVID. Those can be recorded and then could be posted for viewing later, because the recording in a small group, and typically those are small groups, seem to work fine. And that way, that's something that I can run, and I don't need to ask Trenton and the class to be present for with all of their equipment. Or we can do our best to try and schedule them when they're available, and something else the rest of the time.
Can you do it so you can see like the whole room?
Yeah, currently I'm using a GoPro, and so our GoPros have 3 different field of view settings. There's linear, wide, and super view. Currently I'm using the wide angle. I can try and pull this up on full screen to give you a little bit of a view. I can see the entirety of the front section and almost completely back to Erica. And this is the
I just want to
wide.
hear the guys at meetings that are yelling stuff in the back. I'd like to see who that is. I got a pretty good idea, but it'd be nice to be on the roof.
This
So-
is the.
So film from this direction, Trent, I'm all for it.
So my personal opinion on it, I think it's great that we're doing the regular meetings. I don't know that we need to stream the committee meetings, but if it's not a burden, Mr. Petrie's able to do just like we did with Zoom. I mean, we wouldn't be Zooming, so people wouldn't be able to comment in or anything, but it'd be recorded for them to watch it.
And I asked for this to be on the agenda because when we did discuss it last time, I guess I just assumed, and what Mrs. Tizer said about assuming, but I assumed that the committee meetings were also going to be live streamed. So I was surprised when they weren't, and so that's what I brought. And I'll let people that have contacted me are parents who have kids that are gone every night to something. They want to come and they want to hear what's going on, but families first. So they're at their kids' games, or they're had one person contact me. They're a township officer, so their township meetings are the nights we have meetings, and so it's a county board meetings.
I know. You can watch it at the commission.
Yeah, and that's what the person that contacted me had said. Hey, we went back and my neighbor and I we were like, well, what happened? So we went back and looked to see what happened. So it was that sort of thing. It wasn't anything like they just didn't want to come, but it was the fact that they didn't have the ability to come.
Nobody wants to come. We don't want to come either.
I was going to say, I'd feel bad if Trenton had to come to like 6 meetings.
Well, and that's
Sometimes set up so he doesn't have to sit here.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you're going to learn tons about government, buddy.
They really can't
Do you
count once the
have
meeting.
you had your hand up? Do you have a
But they
comment
do.
on that, Trent? Or,
A quick comment on it. I know Mr. Petrie had mentioned that we can record it and post it later. If for some reason the live functionality of it is a necessity, we don't have to stream to YouTube using all of this equipment. We can set you up with simply a phone or something, and we are able to stream multiple events at once on YouTube from different locations. We have had the live chat turned off. If that's something you also wanted, you can turn on the live chat. There's other
That's a
routes.
negative ghost right
I figured, but
It really should be during public comment. So that we would never get done.
yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be a part of the county when we tried to do it a few times, and it's pretty darn challenging. So we finally just had to stop them. They wouldn't quit talking.
Yeah, we just had a meeting like that 2 weeks ago.
I'm just saying. But to take that's easy enough.
Yeah, I mean,
As long as it's, I don't.
Work for everybody,
These
yeah.
people need to be here.
Live stream the regular board meeting, record the others.
Yeah. Easy.
And did you, Trent, was you saying like we have 3 people that watch live, or?
I believe so. Last time, I have the analytics up. I think the last time the live viewers was probably, for example, right now it's 11 viewers. In the past, I think it's probably been around 8.
I don't think we need to.
But people go back and look at it later
I
on.
don't think we need to do that.
Currently, right now, there's been 208 views on the last
Policy
meeting.
meeting, but the buildings and grounds are going to want to hear that. Maybe you guys are doing something in finance school.
You said how many views on the last one?
On the last regular meeting, there's, at this time, 208 views in total.
Really?
It's just your wife rewatching.
I told her on the TV side.
She's there like, it's never looking better. I don't know what it is.
It's the glare off Bill's head. All right, any other comments or discussion on that? We'll move forward on that. All right, number 10, administrative reports.
Who's going to be my favorite principal? I know it ain't you, Mrs. I read my packet.
$25 today.
I like that. She didn't pay it forward, by the way.
Is there any additions from the administrators?
I got some of the preliminary map scores just today, and it's just right at like 19% of them. And I was really pleased because like we're looking at in math where we're struggling. We're trying to look at some new curriculum for that. We were right at 50%, which is average, and those are pre-COVID norms. So if we can get average on our first year back with what we're dealing with, I'll take that for math. And language arts and English, we were at 10 to 20% above average. So that, you know, that made me feel really good because we've been working hard. I've been in the classrooms, and from all the research I've done, they say to get the kids caught up, you don't remediate, because if you go back and you teach the stuff they missed last year, they'll never get caught up. So you teach the regular grade level content, and you do it with robust, and then they get caught up over a few years. So I think that process has started, so I'm excited to see the growth.
Any other additions? Any questions from the board member on anything on the administrative reports? Okay. Accept a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's meet back at 8:30.
25.
Oh,
7:25.
7:25 is good.